All right, everybody, welcome back for another episode of the Launch Button Podcast. And today we're going to talk about healing the country. We're going to do a nice little fireside chat so that we can have some fun with this and deal with all the craziness that's going on out there, from the super nice weather to the super cold weather, depending on where you happen to be. And we're doing this on the road, so if there's any sound or anything like that, you've got it in there. We're going to talk about the election. We're going to talk about interest rates. We're going to talk about the future of this podcast. We're going to talk about events upcoming. And then we're going to talk about how we can all work together. But before we jump into that, let's just talk about healing the country, right? Every 4 years, we get divided based on your political party, and we don't like to talk politics here, one side or the other. Last time the other side group won, this time a new group won. So as we come together, we got to make sure that most of the people in our country are really in the middle. They didn't feel we had really good choices. So we got to come together and heal, and we have a president, and that's our president, right? We have a president, and that's a president, and that's who we roll with. And that doesn't really change what we do on a day-to-day basis. So what we really need to do is, instead of focusing on all the politics and all the rhetoric and all the different things going on, we need to focus on what we can control. What we can control is right in front of us. Today, you listen to this podcast is what you can control. And so as we go through this, I want you to not necessarily get sucked into all the drama out there, but focus on what we can control and how we can move forward. Because there's going to be new opportunities based on the new president. There's going to be new opportunities that open the door. And every time there was a downturn, every time there was a problem, somebody came in and solved it. And that might be you right now, getting in there and being able to do that. So the real problem I feel in our country isn't the political parties. It's our media that's giving us opinionated news versus actually just reporting the news. So they're putting spins on things, and they're tainting it for us to then have to go sort it out. That's why a lot of people are turning to podcasts now for their news, to understand what's really going on in the world and understand what's really happening out there, because they don't want that opinion. And hopefully our media will change, because we don't necessarily have really good people running for office because they're afraid they're going to get torn down for things they did in their 20s. And let's face it, everybody did stupid things in their 20s. And everybody grew from those mistakes and are better people for it. But if they go to run for office, they get torn down for silly mistakes they made in their 20s and 30s. We don't want that to happen to people. So let's give everybody a pass, and let's actually take it forward. So that's the first thing. Secondly, we talked about interest rates going down at the end of this year and then into 2025. So here's the thing. Most likely, interest rates will come down next year again. So if you don't necessarily need the money out of your house, if you're going to do, the Burr method, or you're going to refinance, not saying those are bad, we just need to understand what's happening, because we reset our amortization schedules on our real estate property. So for those of you guys not quite familiar, when you buy a property, you get a 30-year amortization schedule, and we pay the most in interest up front and a little bit of principal. It's not actually whatever interest rate you get. It's actually like 120 times or 20 times your current interest rate. So if it's 6%, you're really paying 120%. If it's 5%, you're really paying 100% back of your mortgage in interest over the 30 years. So, and we have a whole class on that. If you want to dive into that, just send me a message. We'll talk about getting you into that class on how you can do that. But if you don't really need the money out of your property right now, most likely wait to 2025 before you look to refinance, because there probably will be another interest rate drop. It came down to 25 basis points that we had talked about previously on the live, on different things. So if you're plugged in on the social media, make sure you follow on the social media. Make sure you follow on the podcast. So a lot of you guys don't know that we actually have a podcast newsletter. So if you go to www.thelaunchbuttonpodcast.com and you register there, you actually get heads up on what's going on our events, what's going on our newsletter, so that you can be plugged in on the podcast and hear about the cool people coming out in 2025. We got some really big names coming out on the podcast in 2025 that have spoken in front of millions of people, that have sold, over 36 million copies of books. Those types of things are going to be in the podcast. So make sure you like it. Give us a good review on your favorite podcast channel. Make sure you follow on the YouTube if you want the full videos and everything like that, and hit that like and hearts. And of course, like we said, www.thelaunchbuttonpodcast.com to stay plugged in on some of the cool things we have going on in 2025. So let's talk about 2025, because that's when let's talk about 2025, because that's when the new president comes in. That's when a lot of changes are going to be happening. That's where a lot of the tax code might change. All sorts of things are going to go on in 2025. So let's talk about 2025, right? And so let's talk about 2025 and all the changes that are coming up there, as well as what we have going on. So we're going to be coming around the country to different parts of the U.S. And even Africa in 2025. So let's get some dates on your calendar. Let's start thinking about that. Like I said, if you want the full list, go to the launchbuttonpodcast.com. We'll get you a full list of events where we're going to be and the opportunities to connect with us in person, because that's what it's really about. We all want that human connection now, whether that's in your business, in your personal life, in your health and vitality, in growing your community, in your speaking business, in your real estate investing business, all of the different areas there that we can help you plug in on and you want to dive deeper into than just on a podcast. So in January, we've got our next speakers bootcamp. For those of you guys that want to become professional speakers and even international speakers, we have a new program where you can potentially get paid. That's right, get paid and become an international speaker within your first 90 days. If, as you go through that process, as long as your courses get approved and actually get approved, your courses will actually get approved. Your courses will actually get approved, right, by 4 different government agencies, 2 in the UK and 2 in the US. So if that's of interest to you, right, definitely make sure you follow along on there. We also have our next real estate investor bootcamp. And sorry, just go back for the speakers bootcamp for a second. We're going to get you up on stages, help you craft your message and your story and your initial speech so that you can get those approved. Secondly, we've got the real estate investor bootcamp that starts in January. So we'll take you out into the field, show you how to invest, show you how to start negotiating deals. We've got some, if you're in the New York City area, we've got VIP networking events for you. So you just got to get plugged in to that and get on that list. If you feel you qualify for that, definitely send us a message on there. Those are monthly in New York City. We then have our totality events where we're coming around the country doing 2 and 3 day events focused on that vitality, that personal, that business, that building the community. So we'll have the full list of that. We got like 6 or 8 of those planned for 2025. And then also in January, February timeframe, we're kicking off a business and personal intensive where we're going to dive deep into your business, create a harmonious business structure for you so that you guys can go ahead and do that as well. And actually, that's where I'm leaving right after this podcast. We're doing a work with 10 individuals. We've got 4 different coaches coming in to work with them. And we're going to dive deep into their business, into their personal life, into their relationships, into their vitality so we can drive home how they can have a better 2025. That's just a tip of the iceberg of what's coming. Like we said, here on this podcast, we got some really cool people coming out, high-level people that have sold 36 million books. We've got people that have done millions and millions of real estate deals. We've got lots of opportunities for you, and we're always looking for new people. So you can go to the Launch Button Podcast .com and fill out an application to see if you qualify to be one of our guests as well. And then if you have an opportunity, you want us to come speak at one of your events, you want us to run a training for you, also just hit us up on there. So as we're talking about now, the election is over. Let's heal our country. Let's come back together. And you're going to start to hear about a really big project we're going to have about building a 305-foot statue. And with that, and how you could be a part of that and changing generations with it. So when we look at that, there's often hands reaching up for help, but there's not often hands reaching down. So we're going to be one of those hands reaching down, help pulling people up in 2025 out of their own way. And that's what we do most of the time is we got to get people out of their own way and into the future. So you'll hear about that huge charity project we have coming up. Oh, and I did slightly mention in August, we are going to Tanzania, Africa, right? Tanzania, Africa to do a water project. So that's one of our charity initiatives for 2025. We're actually going to either put a water well or a rainwater containment system in a village in Tanzania so that the people there don't have to walk miles and kids don't have to miss school so they can have drinking water. That's going to be one of our projects. And then we're going to do some training. That'll be another speakers boot camp where we're going to taught you how to thrive on the stage and in the wild. We're going to do some tactical training with that. And then we're also going to go on safari for a couple days. So for all of you guys that had that dream that you want to go on safari, make a comment, hit it up, whichever one of those events you want. Make sure you put it in the comment there. We'll make sure somebody follows up with you, send us a DM, an email, whatever it happens to be, because there's lots of cool stuff going on in 2025. And that's really what I want you guys to understand. Let's heal our country. Let's get back into it because there's opportunities for you to be on stages, invest in real estate, all of the different things that you want to do, and help people launch their businesses, which is the initiative of this podcast. So, as many of you know, we started this podcast because we want to help people launch their business or take it to the next level. In 2025, we're going to be diving much deeper into that with, as we're growing, we're getting contacted by higher and higher level guests that want to be on here. If that's you, go to launchbuttonpodcast.com. Make sure you connect there and say, hey, I want to be a guest, and we'll send you over the application. But we've got some really big names coming out that are going to share their message, from 7-time Mr. Universe to people that have been on Oprah and Dr. Phil to, authors of Rich Dad, Poor Dad, all the way through the process. And here's the thing, they're no different than you. This is what I want you to understand. The only difference between them and you is what we call consistent daily action, right? Consistent daily action leads to success. And that's what I've seen over and over with my students all across the country, to be able to do that, and to take the action and then put yourselves in the right circles. And that's what this is. Part of the Launch Button community, you get to be in the right circle with these people and have access to a lot of their free giveaways, a lot of the different things. So make sure you're hard on the podcast, you're giving us a review, and right, you follow us on YouTube so you can get the full videos when we do these. That's why we're doing the fireside chat here today, because we just want to prepare you for 2025. As part of that, as we move into this, there's going to be new opportunities for all of our listeners to get engaged with us at live events, and we'll cover those there in a little bit. But I want just you to think about, hey, what is it that I really want to do? Because as we head into the holidays, a lot of people take time off, which is great, right? We got to recharge, we got to re-energize, we got to do those things. But now's the time to plan so you hit January 1st running. And that's why we're out here. Like I said, we are, right after I film this, we're going over to work with 10 different people to grow and expand their businesses and really take that business to the next level, because, right, we're going to dive deep and create that plan for 2025. Are you doing that for you?
Yeah.
Right? I want to make sure that you're doing it for you so that you could put yourself in that position for success. If you need help, reach out. We've got people to help with that and to do that. And then just make sure you're identifying 3 different people that you want to connect with over the next 90 days so that you can rock your business in 2025. So who might that be? That could be myself. That could be somebody in your network, somebody in your local town that you want to connect with and start building that deeper relationship. So in 2025, you need to go out there and do that. And you might even reach across the aisle to help us heal the country. And you'll hear about our charity projects and things like that we want to do here in the future, but that are definitely going to help with that, right? Because we work with people of all different politics. It doesn't matter your politics. To me, that doesn't, determine who you are as a person. Unfortunately, a lot of people in our country right now is based on your politics, you're good or bad. That's not accurate. And that's a bad mindset. And that mindset is the mindset that gets us into trouble. Just because somebody disagrees with you doesn't mean they're bad. And that's one of the biggest problems in our countries right now. People are disagreeing with people, especially over politics. Well, then you're not a good person. That's BS, right? I'd say something else, but we're broadcasting at the live events. You know what I would say, right? It doesn't judge somebody's character based on who they vote for. Everybody has certain reasons on why they do that, and that's why we're called America. Let me say it again. That's why we're called America. Everybody has a freedom of choice. Doesn't make one person good or bad based on their politics. It's their core value, what's truly inside of them. You don't know their past. You don't know what's happening to them. So let's not judge people solely based on politics to determine if they're a good or bad person. It doesn't really do it. What really does it is your core values, how you act, how you behave, how you do that on a day-to-day basis. So I want to let that sort of settle in there as we talked about healing the country and bringing us back together. We truly want to heal the country, right? We truly want to make sure that you are, right? We truly want to heal the country and bring everybody together. That means we don't judge people based on politics, just like you don't want to judge somebody based on race, skin, or anything like that. But you're doing it in politics, which isn't right, because you never want that done to you. So let's just think about that and go out there. And as we go into, talking about interest rates, I want you just to take some time, think about that. Think about the 3 people you want to connect. Maybe it is a family member that got strained because of politics. Maybe it's a friendship that got strained because of politics, right? Just figure that out for you. And that's your assignment this week, to go ahead and do that. Now let's talk about how interest rates are impacting today's world and what you should do going into 2025. Should I refinance now or should I hold? So as we wrap up today's podcast episode, I just want you to know we support everybody. right? Let's help us heal the country. Let's help us bring everybody back together. So do your part. Reach out to some people that maybe, get a little strained during the election. But their friends, their family, we don't want to lose people because of politics, just like we wouldn't want to lose people because of race, religion, or anything like that. We want to treat everybody equally, fairly. And one little thing doesn't determine somebody's character. It's when they do it repeatedly, right? The repeated things. We have to be willing to, in our society now, forgive people, right? We have to be able to forgive people and move forward. So let's work on that as we go through the holidays. We got some really cool episodes coming up here in the next couple of weeks. So stay tuned, plugged in. See you on the next episode.
Are you doing today? Hey there. Oh, I like all the things that you did today. You live in the foothills. Yeah.
We got some really cool things going on.
Yeah.
We got some really cool things going on. So I'm looking forward to seeing you on the next episode. Have a great day. Just remember, your CDAs help you launch, and that's the next step in your business. So we'll see you on the next episode.
Thank you for joining us on the Launch Button Podcast, your gateway to unlocking your true potential and pursuing your passions. Don't let the journey end here. For more empowering insights, valuable resources, exclusive content, and free giveaways, visit www.thelaunchbuttonpodcast.com.